Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, those of you streaming at home, or wherever you may be, and also those joining us in the gallery. Thank you very much for joining us for this special meeting this evening for the 14th of November. It's clear these are topics of extremely high community interest and also of importance on this evening's agenda, judging by the appearance tonight here in the gallery. First of all, we'll welcome you and also pay our acknowledgement to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first peoples of the country. We also acknowledge them as traditional owners and custodians across various lands. We pay our deepest respects to their ancestors, elders, children and young people. And we also acknowledge the strength and resilience of all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and recognise their continuous connections to lands, waters and communities across the country. Item 2 is apologies, requests for leave of absence and requests to attend by electronic means, of which we have none this evening, but it would be remiss of me not to, on behalf of the entire organisation of Wodonga Council, to recognise our recent resignation of Councillor John Watson. Councillors, I know that I'll speak on each of your behalf to say that John is the nicest gentleman, one of the nicest gentlemen you'll ever meet. And I know, judging by those that were in the Sunshine Walk Sunday last week, they came up to me legitimately in tears and said how sad it was to hear that news. That is not just felt throughout the community and those who knew John, but also entirely throughout this organisation as well. And our well wishes are with John, despite what he is facing at the moment, and we are making plans to recognise his contribution to Wodonga Council over many years, not just as a councillor, but as a mayor as well. Item 3, declaration by councillors of conflicts of interest. Councillors, do we have any? Thank you. Councillor Quilty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I would like to declare conflict of interest on one, possibly two reasons. I have received advice from, amongst my councillor colleagues, have received legal advice from our lawyers used by councillors via our CEO. Judging from that advice, I might have conflict of interest with item 4.1 on our agenda, which is our hospital advocacy. And I would like to point out that this is during state election only. My consideration has been as follows. General conflict of interest pursuant to section 127 of the Local Government Act. Councillor as a member of a political party, and this political party has a member standing for election, where the council advocacy position aligns with the party's campaign platform. I'm a member of Liberal Democrats Australia. Tim Quilty, the member of this party, is standing for re-election. The party's campaign platform does not strictly align with the council advocacy. However, Tim Quilty has spoken to this issue on a number of occasions publicly. Secondly, and more importantly, I have material conflict of interest pursuant to section 128 of the Local Government Act. The details are as above, but also councillor has a family member standing for re-election. My husband of 18 years, Tim Quilty, is standing for re-election. It does frustrate me immensely that I have to step out of this room on this occasion when the issue so important to our community is being discussed. However, this is during the state election only, and I intend to pursue this issue together with my council colleagues after the election, regardless of the election results. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Councillor Hall?
Yes, I am the same. Well, I'm a general conflict of interest. I've been advised that because I am a Liberal Party member, which I have been for 18 months, and also a committee member, that because of the current state elections and the individual parties being in election mode, I would then have a possible conflict of interest on any of the campaign positions that have been taken to this current state election. I've considered this advice, and to be transparent to the people of Wodonga, I'm declaring a conflict of interest on this item. I've always, as a councillor, never brought any political views across to my position. And yes, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hall. And your hand went up. Thanks, Councillor Mildred.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Probably couldn't put it as eloquent as Councillor Quilty has, but we've been advised that during an election period, that membership of a political party establishes a perception, at least, of conflict in respect to matters that might be in the political debate. I find that very concerning on so many different levels, because we have many councils, not this council, but we have many councils where endorsed councillors or councillors are endorsed party members from various different political parties. This may well be something that we really do need to get sorted out at a state level. I can't see how this can continue in this vein and be practical in terms of local government business. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Mildren. Any other conflicts of interest this evening? No, just those items. So we'll move on to our items for determination. 4.1 is the advocacy update, purpose-built hospital. Councillors, you've just given descriptions of your conflicts. You're happy to confirm that they're declared for this item for 4.1. I'll ask the three of you to leave the room. Thank you. Councillors, we no longer have a quorum and are unable to proceed with the item 4.1. So we will move to the next item of business, 4.2, which is the Municipal Monitor report. So if we could just invite the councillors back into the room. Thank you, Governance Officer. All right, councillors, item 4.2, you're all in and comfortable and got your tablets open and can see everything, yep. 4.2 is the Municipal Monitor update. There is a recommendation there on page 14 of 33 of the agenda, councillors. Was somebody prepared to move a motion? Thank you, Councillor Simpfendorfer. As per recommendation, is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Simpfendorfer.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think the recommendation does speak for itself in the importance the role the monitor has had with addressing some governance issues to date. And there was the oversight of the recruitment of our new CEO, and my understanding is here with us until around January. So there was some debate around this item coming up today. However, I think we're in a rock and a hard place that if we put it today, that it's out in the public forum, it's there front-facing, we're not hiding from anything, whereas if we were to put it off to a later council meeting later in the year, it could be construed as being trying to be buried in the Christmas period. So I don't think we can win either way, but following the extraordinary vacancy, it's an even more important role for the monitor to play. So I support the recommendation as it is, and the numbers and the facts are there for all to read. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Simpfendorfer. Councillor Hall.
Yes, I support the recommendation. I'd just like to say that I welcome the transparency around this report provided by our council staff. It is not the final report by the monitor herself, but that will come at the end of her tenure and be given to the Minister for Local Government. The report will then, I believe, be released when the Minister chooses to do so, and that is the proper process for this sort of thing. The report provided by the council staff gives us some detail into to the public about the costs of the rate to the ratepayers, and what was provided by the monitor in her work with councillors and the council staff. I can really only speak on, speak as a councillor on the work Janet Dorr, our monitor, has provided to us, but I do know Janet's advice is respected by all the councillors and is often sought and is much appreciated. Team building between all councillors has been one area that we have all worked on, and it has gone a long way to improve how we communicate with each other. Governance advice has also been another. We will continue to, as it is, work in process, progress, sorry. And as with all organisations, I've seen having a monitor as a positive for our council, and I think that Janet's work with us has been really well, well accepted and needed, I think, going forward. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hall. Councillors? Thanks, Councillor Lowe.
I'll be supporting this document today for a couple of reasons. And that is for the transparency to the community on how much the monitor has cost the community to have here in the first place. I think the community needs to know the cost that was involved. But I've only been on for a short time with the monitor and agree she's a great ear to bounce ideas off and to listen to and help bring talking points into discussion, debate, without it diverting into a big hoo-ha between councillors. One of the things I did query today, because I was unsure of most of the process involved here. I was wondering why we're getting a monitor's report that was written by staff as opposed to the monitor herself. And the monitor explained to me that she reports to the minister and her report goes to the minister. So I accept that. So that's the report that I'll be looking forward to reading most when it comes out. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lowe. Now, I had flagged that I intended to speak to this evening, so anyone else want to go first? Councillor Quilty, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Lowe has mentioned the cost of having the monitor to the community. While this cost was, for want of a better word, imposed on the community without asking, I would like to reiterate the sentiment in this room that having the monitor here has been really beneficial for the councillors. Due to COVID lockdowns, we have missed out on a lot of educational and developmental opportunities as councillors, and having the monitor here has provided us with the opportunity to learn in the field about good governance, proper conduct through a number of important processes, such as recruiting a new CEO, as is going to happen today, re-election of the mayor, review of delegations, and a number of other processes. So while it has been costly, it so far has been very beneficial, and a big thanks goes to the monitor, and an even bigger thanks goes to the community for bearing with us and for allowing us to have this learning experience. Thank you.
Councillor Mildren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too think we've been, it's been timely, and we've been very lucky to have the monitor in the time that we've had the monitor. It's levelled out many things that through the organisation. We've learnt lots of things about governance activities that we might have been getting a bit wrong before, different ways and that things were being done before. We've learnt quite a few things, many of them quite subtle, no necessarily earth-shattering things. But the big thing is it's put a frame around the way that councillors interact with one another through processes of decision-making, through processes of strategic work, and developing up some of the plans and things that we've done. I think that the good example of all that is how we come out the end of the last budget process. There was some things that were started before the monitor, but by and large, coming out the end of that the way we did was, I think, somewhat largely to the impact of the monitor. So I think I'd just like to say thank you, and we've learned a lot, and we can probably move a few steps further and to bigger things. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mildren. I may need a little more time than the 3 minutes, councillors. Well, I'm not too sure because I haven't timed these thoughts that I just made some notes around, but it essentially supports your sentiment so far. So if you'd like to start the stopwatch, and we'll see how we go. So the most important part of a monitor has been to provide stability to this council. So to date, $24,500 was what was reported. There is an updated figure, sorry, Mr. CEO. Would you like to just, I can say it out if you want. So an extra $4,800 plus expenses. So we're up around the $30,000 mark over the several months. And I think the most important part, as a Mozzie almost gets me, is the perception in the community that there's something dramatically wrong with this particular organisation. And maybe there is. Maybe there is. We'll see, as Councillor Lowe said, with a report that will be released to the Minister later on. But from everything that I've seen in the 2 years that I've been here, has been perfectly fine. It's been unsubstantiated. What there's been is, as you'd expect when you get 7 different minds in the room, disagreements and how those disagreements or complaints or grievances have been dealt with, or unfortunately in some cases where people refuse to apologise to each other or perhaps even refuse ultimately in the end to work with each other, it wasn't a real pleasant outcome. So if you think of that instability as a sum, so I shared with councillors this morning, I've given this some deep thought. I thought it was 9 months. It's actually closer to 12, maybe more than 12 months. So more than 50% of the time this councillor group's been elected, we've had 6 councillors sitting at this table. So therefore, in my view, that is the case of we've been on limp mode for over half of the 24 months that we've been trying to serve the community together. And I can say hand on heart, the work that happens behind the scenes and all the speculation that happens out there generally in conversation and rumour around the community isn't factually correct on almost 100% of occasions, and definitely hasn't been the case in the last 12 months. Like a couple of the councillors before me, I reflect upon the fact that yes, the budget process was much better in this last 12 months, and that was from a decision of all councillors present at the table saying, we need to do this better and lean forward further in the process through a suggestion of staff to do that. The other thing I reflect upon is the fact that we've been fortunate enough to recruit and secure and hopefully retain a very transparent CEO. We often talk about transparency in the community. We talk about transparency in this organisation. Straight away, we can say the CEO brings things forward to us. We're not surprised when they arrive on our agenda. It's fantastic. We congratulated him on that today. The fact that with our confidential items on council business papers from here on in, and as started last time we had a confidential item, released to public is part of that resolution that won't jeopardise the commercial and confidence components of that. All these things are good, general, sensible things to do in an organisation and have been underway prior to a monitor's appointments. What I'm hoping is when that report comes through to the Minister and when the community get their eyes on it and read it, they go, you know what, we were wrongly accusing them or we were of doubt. But I'll just cast back to the years that this organisation has been poked and prodded. I'm over time. Can I keep going, please, councillors, with a nod? Yeah. So the years that this place has been poked and prodded and had particular persuasions or thoughts thrown upon it, you've had IBACs, you've had ombudsmans, you've now got monitors. The things that don't look great within the community aren't necessarily the case of what happens behind closed doors. And I would like to thank the staff that have worked to date, often without a fully resourced staff base, definitely almost as long as we haven't had a full councillor base, operating at an executive level in that case. I want to thank you all genuinely from the councillors for sticking with us. There's 43,182, I think, at last count or prediction, people that we represent and serve the best interests of each and every day. So, like Councillor Lowe, like my colleagues here as well, we're backing each other in on this, and we're going to continue to do that as we have for some time now, prior to a monitor. And again, like all, I appreciate Janet's thoughts and observations and wisdom that she's brought to the table at times whilst we try to find stability, which unfortunately, once again, we find ourselves without due to very tragic circumstances. So thank you very much for allowing me to go over time, councillors, because hopefully what you've probably learnt over the years is I'm passionate and I work towards results. Having said that, Councillor Simpfendorfer, do you want to close?
What do you say after that? No, I think it's all been said. I think that sentiment around the room is how it's been collectively collegiate, it's been respectful, and we're trying to look forward and not back as a council group. And I hope that definitely comes across from what you've heard around the table tonight, and what you see in the community, hopefully over a number of those larger issues that we're invested and we're trying to do the best we can for our community. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Put the motion.
Thank you, councillor Simpfendorfer. Councillors, I therefore put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, item 4.3, the election of the mayor. Councillors, the recommendations there, first of all, we need a motion, I guess, supporting either 1 or 2 years as a term for the election, and then we hand the chairing of the meeting for the election over to the CEO, as per the Local Government Act 2020. So, was somebody prepared to move a motion? Test the floor with 1 or 2 years? What would you like to do? Move for 1 year. Do we have a seconder for 1 year? So it's as worded as per the recommendation, but with 1 year? Yep. Anyone prepared to second that? Councillor Simpfendorfer? All right. Councillor Lowe, away you go.
I think our next mayor should go on for 1 year terms, or next mayor / plural mayors over the next 2 years should be a year term. I think nominating 2 years is too long. I think by having only 1 year terms, we can judge the mayor of the day on the 1 year and see if we're comfortable for them to go on for another year or not. So it's not about sharing mayoral duties or anything like that. It's just about judging the mayor's performance on their year's performance. I think if you have a 2 year term, then we take it away from the councillor group the ability to, if the mayor is not performing to the way the councillors like, it takes away the ability to do anything about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lowe. Councillor Simpfendorfer?
Thank you. I'm sort of on the fence on this one. Went with seconding that to test the floor and see how it was going to look. I think some key words that have come out tonight are stability and looking positively towards the future. So for that argument, I was thinking perhaps that 2 years, but with a bit of uncertainty, unfortunately, around the elections and what's going to happen here tonight, I think maybe 1 year might be of benefit to test the floor with and see where those numbers fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simpfendorfer. Councillors? Councillor Quilty?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apart from the reasons already mentioned, I think it is important to have a short mayor tenure, 1 year, because we at the moment are tragically one councillor short, and I think it will only be fair, and hopefully by this time next year, the community will be fully represented by 7 councillors. So by electing a mayor for 1 year, we potentially give the new councillor an opportunity to represent the community, his or her part of the community, in the next mayoral election. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Quilty. Councillor Mildren?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I essentially agree with the things that Councillor Lowe has put in moving his motion. I think 1 year term is probably a good thing, and it opens up opportunities for other things to happen based on merit and based on the challenges and things that we might find that come across the floor or across the table over the next 12 months. I think it leaves a wide range of options open for all sorts of outcomes, and I think that's probably the right answer for us in the circumstances and the times we find ourselves in. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mildren. Councillor Hall?
Look, I was, a bit like Councillor Simpfendorfer, that, 1 2 year, but I think 1 year probably is the most appropriate, being that we will have a new councillor on board when the next mayoral election comes up next year, and that probably makes sense to let them have an opportunity to participate in that election. Thank you.
I might just, before we come to you in closing, Councillor, I'd like to say, as the current mayor sitting here for another 30 seconds perhaps, I think it's great that you do it every 1 year. I really do. Not necessarily so for the stability, as correctly outlined by two of the colleagues here, around the stability and assurance is what a lot of organisations, and to really achieve, probably would aim for. But for everything that's just been described, it makes complete sense to never lock yourself in to something that could be a changing environment at any given point in time. So I'll be supporting the motion this evening. But Councillor Lowe, in closing.
Nothing to close on there. I think all councillors have in agreement, I think, to the 1 year term.
Therefore, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All right, motion carried unanimously, and I'll now hand you to the CEO to conduct the mayoral elections.
Thank you, councillors. I'll just talk a little bit about our process. So I'm running the election process, not the council meeting. However, to keep consistency with the governance rules, the nominator will be allowed 5 minutes to speak to their nomination. The seconder will be allowed 3 minutes to speak to these are maximum amounts, by the way, please feel free to do less. 3 minutes. And then the nominee will be allowed 3 minutes to speak, and each councillor will be allowed one question of the nominee. Councillors clear with those? Everyone's happy with that? Very good. Okay, so I will take nominations for the position of mayor. Yes, Kevin. Seconder for that? Danny? Low, okay. And Mr. Polton, Councillor Polton, would you accept that nomination? Okay, any other nominations for mayor? Councillor Quilty?
Thank you. I would like to nominate Councillor Mildren.
And do we have a seconder for Councillor Mildren? Councillor Hall. Thank you, Councillor Hall. And Councillor Mildren, do you accept that nomination? Do you have any other nominations for me? Okay. That's a scratch. Very good. Alrighty. So if we go back, so the nominator is Councillor Simpfendorfer for Councillor Polton. You have 5 minutes maximum.
It's all right. I don't think I'll need you the 5 minutes. But look, since being Deputy Mayor for the last 12 months, I've witnessed firsthand the work that Kevin's done in his time as Mayor, and he won't tell you tonight, I don't think you'll hear that much from him about the achievements he has done, but I've seen him work all hours of the night, all days of the week, weekend. This is with a full-time job, a family, and in the best interests of our city and community. And being Deputy Mayor, I saw that firsthand. I didn't get to see that to the level I could appreciate as a councillor, but having now seen all those high-level conversations with state, federal, border closures, hospitals, Junction Place, you name it, and the discussions and the conversations and what's in the best interest of the community, that's why I'm nominating Kevin for this role. He's led us through some of these most turbulent times that we can't foresee. As I said, border closures, politics. We've heard around the room tonight some of the best budget process we've been through, and that was before the Monitor was here, that it was already underway, and we're working together as a really strong group, and that's my point tonight, is consistency. We have some absolutely defining moments as a city with Junction, with the hospital, with future at Logic, with so many massive decisions, and this at a time where our state and federal governments have blown a lot of money, have spent a lot of money on COVID, and it's a strong financial position we hope to be in. He's the strongest person that I see in the room, and has the biggest work ethic that I see. That's not diminishing on the rest of the work that we do around here, but as Mayor, we can all appreciate that's a different level. And he doesn't let things get to him as much. He's not worried about what is either printed in the media or what's said online. He gets on with the job. And I don't think that I could possibly do that to that level that he does. So, as I said, there's been many major decisions that we've had to make around the room. And the main question is it the best we can do? And I think that Kevin is the best we can do for our mayor for the next 12 months at this critical time. When he first came up as mayor, I think the argument there was, no, let's not vote for him, he's inexperienced. Now he's 2 years down the track and he's experienced. We don't just want to vote for the sake of voting, we need to vote for that security of our future as a city and dealing with state members, federal members that now know us as a city to take seriously. So I'll be fully supporting Kev for the next 12 months. There you go, that's well under 5 minutes. Thank you.
Councillor Lowe, seconder.
Thank you. I'll talk to the stability because that's one of the reasons why I'll be supporting Kevin tonight. Is exactly that. It's stability of the organisation, the stability of the mayoralship, and Kev's demonstrated ability to advocate for our community. This skill alone, I think, stands him out from the rest of us. He really does advocate for the whole community and not just portions of the community. And this is one of your best attributes, I feel, is the way you advocate behind the whole community, even if you don't agree with that view. And that's a special quality and a really important quality. If to be able to put your own personal view to the side and then advocate on behalf of the community as a whole. So I'm not going to go into taking up 2 or 3 minutes. I think you put the runs on the board, and I think demonstrated ability is a lot better than what I'm gonna do. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe. Councillor Poulton.
That's pretty awkward. Thank you, colleagues. I guess the intention here for me was to sort of, I guess, talk for a few minutes about what it is that you get with me. And I think as both councillors have correctly pointed out, everybody knows what they get, don't they? Pride and professionalism, you sometimes get emotion, and for that I'm usually apologetic. Might not necessarily always vocalise that, but stability was probably one of the key things I made notes of earlier today as I reflected upon what it is that I'd bring to the table again. And as you've identified critically. Capacity, the only promise I made back when we were all elected and campaigned to our community. I said I had the capacity to do it. I'm going to have greater capacity to do it soon, which I really look forward to. And the experience that we're reflected upon as well, not just as mayor, but also through the employment history that I have in organisations as large or even larger than the City of Wodonga. Actions and response is probably one of the things I don't talk about enough. Is often, as the current day mayor, that's what happens when I talk to people in the community. They say, oh, we weren't expecting to see you here. We weren't expecting you to reply to my email. We weren't expecting you to be so quick. All these things where I thought, well, what were you expecting? What should you expect? You've put me here. My colleagues have put me here. I'm here to do a job. Always putting the community over politics, and I think that's been proven time and time again. I'm an optimistic kind of person, and I hope if there's one thing I can leave with people is at least a smile, a laugh and some optimism in what has been extremely difficult times. There's amplified care with me. I've shown that tonight to all councillors, regardless of any disagreements we've had in the past, but also to everybody in the community who I know, there may even be some sitting in this room that I've had relatively heated conversations with in the past, and I don't regret that because that's what gets good outcomes for a community. I've shared some interesting moments as Councillor Simpfendorfer opened. We've unanimously, and this is a reflection not just for me as a mayor wanting to be returned again, but we've unanimously appointed a very transparent and capable CEO, and we should all be proud of that. But I take great pride of the fact that I was able to bring us all together for that in a fully correct manner, despite criticism from some people to say it was silly to have us all involved. It's worked. And I guess the only thing I'd ask in return, other than, what do you get from me, I'd ask, what matter isn't currently underway to being resolved that hasn't been brought to mine or the council's attention in the last 2 years. Whilst we can't fix everything and get everything right at any given time, and no matter who the mayor is, that will not change an iota, I would proudly say that anybody who has brought up a concern to me or through the councillors to me and through to our CEO of the day or our leadership team has received a satisfactory response or knows that it's somewhere within the next few months to come. Unfortunately, things turn slowly. So thank you both for your words. I take great pride and again display as much professionalism as possible each and every day that I wake up. And I never once take for granted the privilege it is to represent such a nice community. Thank you.
Thank you. The second nomination, Councillor Quilty, for Councillor Mildren.
Thank you. Councillor Mildren has been on Wodonga City Council for 6 years, as far as I know, and I have had the privilege and the pleasure of working with him for 2 years or so. During this time, Councillor Mildren has demonstrated a number of outstanding qualities which make him a perfect fit for the mayoral position. Firstly and foremostly, Councillor Mildren commits a lot of his time and energy to the community. Councillor Mildren is well across political, strategic and policy matters, and he is well equipped to speak on them, as he has demonstrated at a number of council meetings. Councillor Mildren has superb knowledge of local government legal framework. Councillor Mildren always advocates constructively and respectfully for his position, even when he is faced with strong contrary views. Councillor Mildren has demonstrated superb understanding of the political landscape and strong ability to work effectively with a range of internal and external stakeholders. He is future-focused. He considers the long-term impact of our strategic and policy decisions. He has demonstrated an outstanding big-picture outlook for the future of our community, aided by his long experience with local governments across the state. Councillor Mildren, and this point is quite dear to my heart, Councillor Mildren has demonstrated sound financial stewardship during our budget processes in allocating and managing public funds. Also importantly, Councillor Mildren encourages transparency and a fair decision-making process. Councillor Mildren always behaves ethically and encourages others to do the same. He always seeks clarifications on ethical issues when he is unsure. Councillor Mildren always demonstrates sensitivity to the diversity of our community. And the last but not the least, from the point of view of transparency and accountability, a change of leadership is always healthy. We are now midterm through our council tenure, so it is a good time to exercise this opportunity to change leadership, especially with Councillor Mildren's ability to start adding value to the community and to the operations of the council from the very start of his mayoral term. Thank you.
Councillor Hall is seconder for Councillor Mildren.
Yes, okay. I will be supporting Councillor Mildren as Mayor. Councillor Mildren has been on council for 6 years like myself. I've worked with him over this time and found him to be a passionate advocate for our city. His knowledge of local government is extensive and I value his input into our council briefings and meetings. It really provides some really good comments and in situations when they probably need it sometimes. Councillor Mildren really listens to what you have to say, which I really appreciate as a woman especially, and values your opinions, which I see is vital for being a mayor and working with other councillors. I might add, and also for the community, I think he listens to the community. He is very passionate about that. Councillor Mildren, I believe, is a good problem solver and a strong leader, always prepared to stand up for our Wodonga community and advocate for the best possible outcome for our city. All of these qualities are great attributes to have as our mayor. The position of mayor, I believe, should not be for one person only during a term of council. I think it's good to have change, especially if there are other councillors who are more than able to fill the position and are willing to do so and put their hand up to do so. I don't believe it will affect our stability. It's us as a council and our team working together, teamwork together, that creates the stability. Also leadership, of course, but it's really us that will create that stability. So I'd just like to, before the vote, I'd just like to thank both Councillor Mildren and Councillor Poulton for accepting the nomination for the position of Mayor. And I'd like to thank Councillor Poulton for his role as our Mayor. Councillor Poulton has done a very good job during some very testing times, and this is especially more highlighted by the fact that he was a first-time councillor during his term of council. I thank him immensely for his commitment and passion in the role as Mayor over the past 2 years, and wish him the best with this election of the Mayor process.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Mildren is accepting the nomination for Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. First and foremost, one of the most important things we have is our staff group, and we need to be seen to be strongly in support of our staff group and make them an integral part of where we're going into the future. Second, it's my opinion that the mayoral vote should be held over until the new councillor is in place. I believe that would be consistent with good democratic process and natural justice, given the short time involved. However, the Act says we must proceed to a vote, so we shall. I see a need to bring stronger community connection and more open council strategic planning and decision making. It's time to dispel the myths and the fear and to build a stronger trust between councillors and with our community. It's time to put the good words into action. We've done a lot of good things in putting words together over the past probably 3 years or so, but we really haven't been strong in getting them into action. I see being a councillor is all about doing the work, researching the issues, listening to both the community and fellow councillors, understanding officer reports and engaging the community. After you've got all that done, you can sit back and you can make your informed opinions and establish how things should be voted on, and that's fundamental to good council leadership, and it's fundamental to good councillor operation. And they're the sort of things that I see that we need to pursue to draw the councillor group even closer together. I've changed my voting intentions on a few occasions after listening to debate, and sometimes even after listening to officers explain their recommendations and explain the detail and the complexities of things. I've come to the council with an open mind on pretty much everything that happens. I come to the table in a council meeting and I am prepared to change my vote and have done. It's the role of a councillor to question everything and assume nothing, to deliver good governance and policy delivery. As custodians of our city, we need to think strategically and look to the big picture. We need to lead change to the community, to the growth and expectations. We need to carefully plan for strategic resource priorities and allocation to achieve and manage strong community growth. We need a mayor who is not a commentator or a bystander, but who is committed to and capable of bringing local interactive community leadership and strong professional advocacy at all levels. I believe there is a strong mood for change to bring new leadership, and I believe my skills, knowledge and experience put me in the best position for the time and circumstances we find ourselves in council. Thank you, Mr. CEO.
Thank you very much, councillors. I'll now take questions for Councillor Poulton first. Any councillors got any questions? Okay, thank you. I'll take questions for Councillor Mildren now. Thank you, councillors. Looks like we get to the hard part. So, councillors, first of all, I would like to take a Votes for the positive for councillor Polton as mayor. Councillor Polton, councillor Simpfendorfer, councillor Lowe. Thank you. And I'll now take votes for councillor Mildren for mayor. Councillor Mildren, councillor Hall, councillor Quilty. Councillors, given that's an even vote and according to the rules, I'm going to make the suggestion that we take a 10 or 20-minute break for councillors to have a discussion on two things. One is your voting, and the other one is whether you wish to defer this item into a future council meeting. So I'm going to adjourn the election process at this point in time for 20 minutes. If councillors would like to go into the committee room to have some discussions, that would be great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for your patience. I hope you've enjoyed that networking opportunity amongst yourselves. Thank you, councillors, for going away and having some discussions. It has been reported back to me that there's no final resolution on the matter. Hence, I'm halting the election process at this point in time, and I'll call the acting mayor to the table to continue the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Through those discussions that we've just had, there has been a recommendation for a motion along the lines of that a further vote for the election of mayor be held not later than 16th of January 2023, and the report on the office of deputy mayor be deferred until the same meeting. Is there anyone willing to move that motion?
Yep.
Councillor Paul, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Hall? Thank you. Any discussion that you'd like to have? Councillor Paulton?
Oh, yeah, look, it's pretty straightforward. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Acting Mayor, whatever we refer you to. It's pretty straightforward. Councillors met, as outlined, discussed that there's some desire to have all 7 councils. We've spoken about stability at length tonight. All 7 councillors on board to make that decision, but we also discussed the point around how unfair, given the environment they'll be walking into, how unfair it would be to expect that person to potentially get sworn in around the 8th or 9th of December and then be ready to go 10 days later. So best of luck to those who are intrigued and looking forward to and had nominated back in 2020. The countback will happen. You'll be given due time to be able to assess the environment, attend a few briefings, get some background information, no doubt talk to the CEO, talk to the acting mayor, and then hopefully come back to this table with a full 7 councillors, which, as I pointed out earlier on, is extremely rare. 50% of the last 12 months we have been running on limp mode. So we look forward to having some strength there when that becomes the case in hopefully sooner than mid-January. Thank you, Acting Chair, Mr. Mayor, whatever you are.
Councillor Hall, anything?
Look, I don't have much to add to that other than the fact that I think that is the best outcome. We need to have the 7 councillors on board to make the fair decision on where we go with having a new mayor and deputy mayor. And as Councillor Putin said, the sooner the better, but we want to give the new councillor time to assess and not feel like they're making a rush decision, and see where that goes. Thank you.
Councillors, any further discussion or debate? No? I'll therefore put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you, Mr. CEO. It's passed unanimously. There's nothing else left on the agenda tonight?
Oh, yes, there is, my friend.
There is?
You have to go through the other items and say there's nothing there. So,
Oh, yes, thank you.
urgent business, none.
Yep.
So we'll just roll through.
Thank you. Thank you. Item 5, we move on to, urgent business, of which there's none, and confidential urgent business at number 6, also, which there isn't any. Therefore, item 7 is to close the meeting. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and all those streaming at home. Wish you safe and well, and we'll see you back here for our next meeting, Monday, 21st of November at 6 p.m. Thank you.